The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Stage Door Show. Tonight, this is Dave Hondel. My guest is one of the most respected women in country music. For 30 years, she was married to and managed the career of her late husband, George Jones. She was also the winner of the Country Music Association's prestigious Source Award in 2016 for Women Behind the Music. I'm excited to talk to her about the release of the exciting new project entitled Jones-The Lost Nashville Sessions. So let's bring her in now. Nancy Jones, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I'm excited. I've heard a lot about your show, and I'm glad that you have me on there. I'm honored.
Well, thank you. Well, we're honored as well. And, you know, I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time listening to the tracks on this new project, the Lost Nashville Sessions. And I got to tell you, it really took me back over the years. And also, just the sound quality is amazing. And, you know, talk about that project and talk about what kind of led to releasing this project. Well,
in 2013, after George had passed, Dwayne with the Oak Ridge Boys called me and said his son-in-law, Paul Martin, wanted to update some tapes that he had of George. There were tapes that was done in the studio for him to promote his album. So they were radio station tapes. And I said, at that time, I'm like, I don't care. Just go ahead and do what you've got to do. Let me know. I never heard anything else again until this year. And I'm like, you know what? They worked on that forever. So, but that Paul Martin, that producer, he updated the tapes, bringing the audio quality up to the 21st century. And I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, some of the tracks on here, you know, the Grand Tour, I'll Share My World with You, Tender Years, She's Mine, Hey Good Looking. I mean, these songs are just classics, and you know, and there's so many tracks on this project, and you know, listening to this, you know, I noticed that, you know, not only being remastered a lot of these, but also, you know, the addition of a few background vocals and so forth to enhance these songs, and I mean, it really brings them even more to life than they already are. So, you know, how was that project? I mean, working with these folks that you mentioned, you know, emotional, I guess, because I know that you and George were married for over 30 years, and you know, these songs, you know, were part of your life. And was it a little emotional to hear these come back to life again?
Well, it was. I cried a little, and I took it all in, because I can tell the fans and everybody, which you've listened to, he was singing like George Jones wanted to sing. I mean, they didn't stop and tell the session picker, here, you got to fix this, or the producer had to fix something. You know, they had stop them. And this one, he wasn't stopped. He just sung his heart out and just did a wonderful job. And like I said, with Paul Martin mixing it, he did mix the vocals and stuff. I mean, the quality of it, but he did not touch George's vocals. And that's what I think the fans are going to love. And that's why we call it the Lost Nashville Session, because it was a session that George enjoyed, because he was able to sing the songs like he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And, you know, one of the things that when I was listening to it, and when I said it took me back, you know, I remember growing up, going on long road trips and sitting in, you know, cafes in these small towns and truck stops and so forth. And country music playing. And, you know, I know we had it on the radio as well. And just listening to George's music, it really did bring me back. And it just really, you know, I can't wait to listen to every single track on that project. So again, you know, first of all, congratulations on that release. And I also understand that one was just today, Tender Years, I believe, was just released today, correct?
Yes. Today was the day to go get the album. And also there's 16 songs on there. So the total of the whole album is 16 songs. And I was told a couple of days ago that they're going to bring a vinyl out with it. So that's my favorite. I love vinyl.
There's nothing better than vinyl. And we say that a lot on our show. And, I wish, it's great that we have streaming platforms now and digital, and you can get whatever song you want. That type of thing is okay. But there's nothing like having a vinyl record in your hand. And, I used to love going to record stores and buying that vinyl album, and not only getting the wonderful music on, the A and the B side, but you're also getting everything else, the extras that go along with it, like the liner notes and the pictures and the front and the back and the artwork. And, so I really miss that. And I'm glad that they're kind of making a comeback, because you go to a lot of stores now, I think Urban Outfitters and some others that actually have a lot of vinyl albums that you can buy. And it's just wonderful. So I'm glad to see that coming back.
I am too. I just think that is better than sliced flatbread. I love it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And, another thing I want to bring up is, I know that you have a wonderful book that came out last couple of years called Playin Possum. It's about your life with George, and it's very highly rated of a book. And I just want to kind of get into that a little bit, if you don't mind, if we can talk about that for a second.
September the 12th. A year ago on George's birthday, and the book is just unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if you knew that I had died of COVID, and when I died, I was in the doctor's office, and my business manager was there, and they said, "She doesn't have a pulse." He said, "Well, call 911." They said, "It's not going to do any good. She doesn't have a pulse." Well, I don't remember none of that. And
Wow.
They called, then the experts came, like 10 minutes later, got up there and said, "She doesn't have a pulse." So they were fixing to pronounce me dead. And all of a sudden, they said, when I got in the elevator, I started screaming, "I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go." And I did that because my friend Joe Diffie had died from COVID in the hospital, and I did not want to go to the hospital, and I knew that a lot of people were not coming out of there once they went in.
Yeah.
So I got down to 90 pounds.
Wow.
I lost all my hair. I lost 70% of my lung, and I had to learn how to walk again. And, my muscles were just drying up. But with the help of the good Lord, and me praying so much and listening to what God had to tell me, I'm still here.
Well, let me ask you, because I know a lot of people have near-death experiences, and when you were in that moment, I mean, do you recall your feelings during that time? I mean, do you remember what happened?
I was so light, so floating. It was like, I can't say it's clouds, because they were just absolutely the prettiest white I've ever seen in my whole life.
Wow.
And I was enjoying it. I mean, I try after this is over, I would look around like, no, that's white, but that's not the white I've seen.
Yeah.
You look at the clouds, that still is not the white I've seen.
Yeah.
So I think I went to heaven and came back. I really do.
Yeah, it wasn't your time, that's for sure. I asked that because, about 5 years ago, I was on a camping trip, and I was on a whitewater rafting trip, and I had gone overboard, and I took a breath of, my breath was not air, it was water. And I was started to pass out. I was underwater for quite a while, and I thought, well, this is it. This is how I'm going. And I never felt so much peace in my life. And people I guess that don't have that experience, don't understand that I almost didn't want to come back, to be honest. It was such a peaceful feeling that I was like, wow, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I ended up floating to the top, and somebody rescued me. But, that's why I asked that question, because, I used to be afraid, and now I'm not. So I just wanted to ask you, what happened with you?
You know what? I'm not afraid. I used to be scared to death, just like what you're saying. But once that I came back, and I did have that peace that you're talking about, but once I came back, I felt like, my whole insides felt different.
Yeah.
And you probably did too. You feel lighter.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just want to say, you just want to praise Jesus. That's what you want to do. And, in my book, that's what people are going to see. I didn't sugarcoat anything in this book. I had to start with COVID. And then I went through the part where, George, hey, he wasn't an angel. I was trying to get those demons out of him. And I told it like it was. But I had to do that because I wanted to show people how you can go and God will lead you. He'll take your hand and he will lead you if you'll just listen. And that's what I did with this book. And it's just a whole different kind of book. And, I never got anything negative back on this book. Everybody that read it was like, man, Nancy, you should have done this years ago. I couldn't have done it years ago because I didn't die years ago. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times when people, write books and, I like this, and I think it's a therapeutic experience. And a lot of times it kind of helps us to talk about things like this. And, I know my mom experienced, and we as kids experienced, an abusive household and also with, alcohol and that type of thing. So I kind of understand in a way, and, being best friends with my mom, talking about her experience as well. I mean, we talk about it sometimes and I think it helps to get it out, but to write this book, I think it helps fans as well understand that, not everybody's perfect. And I think the fact that, George was able to turn his life around for the positive, and you had a great rest of your time with George before his death. I thought that that was a nice, inspiring part of this story. And it's, it does sometimes turn around and it's not all for naught. And, I think some people can, turn it around, and you're a perfect example of that happening.
You can. And I had a great time with George from 99 to 2013, the perfect husband. I didn't have to worry if I got to go and hurry and get back to the house to make sure he's not drinking and not smoking and not doing things he shouldn't do, because that was how my life was at first. It's like, Lord, let me go in here and see if I can find that vodka bottle, or can I find that little bitty Jack Daniels bottle in his boot or in his coat. And it was I never felt anything except praising God, because once he told me, you'll never see me drink again, you'll never see me smoke again, and you can take that to the bank. How many times was I told that the whole time that we were married? But this one time when he said it in 99, I knew that God had answered my prayers, and he also answered George's. So that's what I'm saying, is if you can read my book and understand why I fought so hard to get this man to heaven, that's exactly what I wanted. And I think God reached down in 2013 and said, come on, son, time to go to heaven. And I think he went there.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that, I think you were put there on this, in that situation for a reason. And I think, besides his wife, you were his guardian angel. I really, truly believe that.
Oh, that is so sweet of you.
Well,
but that they will love my book, because when I was a little girl, I was mistreated, and I used to say, "Why? I mean, I don't understand this. I'm just a little girl." But I think God was preparing me then and making me strong when I was a little girl, because I would have never been able to go through what I went through with George if I was a weak person. So yeah. I know that God had prepared me years ago.
Yeah, I truly believe that as well. And, so everybody go check that book out for sure, called Playin Possum. You can get on Amazon or anywhere you can buy books. So, definitely check that out. It was a book written by yourself and Ken Abraham. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful read. And again, like I said, very highly rated. So definitely everybody go check that out. I wanted to also ask you before we leave, there's a couple questions that I have about the music business, because a lot of our listeners are artists themselves. And, one of the things that I wanted to highlight, and the reason I brought the book up is because, I think a lot of people that get into this industry, I think get into it for reasons other than, the fact that they have talent, or I think a lot of it is, they want the accolades, or they want to be famous, or whatever the case might be. But there's another side to the industry that I don't think a lot of people that aren't in that circle understand. And so I wanted to ask you, as part of the, being not only in the industry, but you were George's manager for several years. And, so talk about that industry and how, it can be dark. It's not just, the glamour and the glitz and, touring and being on buses and going from town to town and being in front of adoring fans. I mean, there's a price to pay for fame, right?
There it is. It definitely is. I guess I can say this. What am I going to lose? You're selling your soul. Yeah. And the thing about it is that they tell you what to do. They tell you what to wear. They tell you how to cut your hair and all of that. And I say, which they never did that with George, because George was like, ain't nobody going to tell me what to do, because he had a great voice, I guess. And because he had picked the right songs to do, that he was there. But to start today, oh, it's so, so, so hard to get in the clique here. And it is a clique. I mean, you just, I don't know what to tell you. I would say write songs, write them. Writing them is where your money's at. Traveling on the road and stuff, it's so hard. It is so hard to get out there, and you're not sure, really, honestly, what you're doing, but you got a manager that's going to tell you what to do. And if you don't do it right, they'll leave you. So I'm just saying, if you believe in yourself and your music, go for it. But if you don't get in the clique of Nashville, Tennessee, which is hard, then write songs.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you, is that I feel sorry for her when I see somebody that can really sing. I mean, really sing, and cannot get a record deal, or cannot even get through the door.
Yeah.
So that's the things I'm saying. It is so hard. And a lot of people will say, well, Nancy, you know everybody, and everybody respects you. Can you not get me a meeting with so-and-so? And I'm like, it won't work. And if you had somebody to get you a meeting with so-and-so, that makes them mad.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons we have this show, Nancy, is to kind of give a real background to what it's really like out there. And it's not instant fame, and it shouldn't be instant fame. It's a lot of hard work. It's years and years of paying your dues before you get to the point where you're even listened to by record companies. And now with the streaming platforms and the ability as an independent artist to get their music out there, I mean, it's almost a level playing field right now, where I don't think a lot of the record companies have the power that they used to have. I mean, they still do, but I think a lot of the independent artists out there can put their own music out. The problem is that they don't have the money behind it where they can market it, like the big labels and so forth. So what are your thoughts on that?
They're not going to put money out on anybody that they don't think's going to be a huge artist. They're going to fluff you off. I know that for a fact. And you're not going anywhere. If you can self-promote and do your own with all this social media, you can sell your own albums. My friend Billy Yates, that wrote Rockin' Chair and Choices, what a great voice. but he doesn't have a record deal. But he sells the fire out of records because he goes and he works social media. Social media is where it is. And that's what you need to do. Get your music out there that way. And sometimes if it gets out there that way, then a record label is like, who is this guy that keeps putting this great music out? Then they will get in touch with you.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Definitely for our listeners, that's wonderful advice for somebody that's been in this business for a very long time at a very high level. So thank you for that advice. And last question before we go, Nancy, and I ask this of every guest that I have, but you've left quite a legacy already in the music business and for all the people that have been in the country music especially. But what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to leave behind when people think of Nancy Jones?
What I want to be left behind is that I fought so hard after George left, and I'm still doing it, to keep his music out there. I know how much that George loved country music, and that's why every day I think, okay, what else can I do? We can't let this pass. We've got to get these young artists to understand that this man had a voice that nobody else had. God has blessed him with a voice, that's for sure. But I want to be known as, this is the woman that did everything she could to save George Jones and to get him to heaven. I want them to know that I'm fighting every day of my life to keep his legacy alive, and that's something that I'll do till my last breath.
Well, we're so happy you're doing that, Nancy. And again, George Jones-The Lost Nashville Sessions, and just an honor to have you on, Nancy. And thank you so much for taking the time tonight on the Stage Door Show. And best of luck with the project. And, again, you have a huge fan for everything, not only what George did, but also what you did as well in this business, and also with George. And, keep up the good work. And always welcome back on the show, Nancy.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.